Today we have one goal, in one zone, with one hero. Wheelboy, because this is Gold Locked, the series where we spin a wheel and it picks a zone for us to go to, and an amount of gold we must farm before we can spin again. And previously, the wheel sent us to Icecrown, with a goal to farm enough gold to buy a WoW token. In the last episode, we managed to farm ourselves 190,000 gold, which with the current token price puts us over halfway there. But there is still a lot of gold to be farmed in Icecrown, and I vow that today, before we're finished, Wheelboy will have his first WoW token. And we've got plenty to do. We've got housing items to craft, pockets to pick, and at some point, we can take on the Lich King himself. But first, I want to try and get another battered hilt. It's an item that drops from the 3 Icecrown dungeons that allows you to start a quest chain that rewards you with the Quell de la, this beautiful looking sword stuck in the ice. And the battered hilt itself sells for between 25 and 40,000 gold. Last episode we experimented to try find out which of the 3 dungeons were the best to farm. The Halls of Reflection was useless, this was basically just a cinematic dungeon. The Forge of Souls was better, but still not great. And then you had the Pit of Sauron, which was by far the best option. What with it being just basically an open field full of monsters you can pull all in one go. Unfortunately for us, the battered hilt only drops on the heroic version, and the heroic version of Pit of Sauron is blocked to us right now, as it is being used in this season's mythic rotation. So the only version of it we can enter is the normal version. So we are limited to doing the Forge of Souls once a day, as you can only do the heroic version once every 24 hours. And yet, despite that, in the last episode, on I think our 3rd attempt, we got one. And getting that lucky gave me quite a buzz. I want to feel that again. So we're going for another one. But this time, we have some changes to make. A few of you pointed out in the comments some really helpful tips that are going to make this a whole lot easier. The first tip is that since the battered hilt has the same chance of dropping from trash as it does from bosses, as long as we don't kill a boss, we can keep doing the dungeon as many times we want in a day. No 1 attempt per day limit. That's already way more efficient. So let me load up a Forge of Souls map and lay out the details. The main packs of enemies are here, 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 and then there's a triple pack here. There are a couple over here and over here, but they're not really worth it. Since the boss is here, this is the plan. We'll follow the path like normal, clearing out all of these, moving our way on up, not hitting the boss, because if we kill the boss, we're locked out of the dungeon for 24 hours, and then we grappling hook over to this platform to kill this pack. At which point, we can jump off here, die, and then we'll respawn right back at the beginning. And here's what that looks like sped up. Now this was working pretty well, but there were 2 big issues. Issue number 1, because I was killing myself every single run, my gear was regularly breaking. Now I know that's probably okay, since I've outleveled the dungeon I would have killed everything anyway, but I really didn't like the broken gear icon always on my screen, so I had to keep going back to Dalaran and repairing as there wasn't a close repair point outside the dungeon. But this was a pretty simple problem to fix, because in Dalaran, you can buy the repair mount, the Traveler's Tundra Mammoth, a big old thing that comes with 2 vendors that allows you to repair and sell your unwanted stuff, meaning I can clear my inventory space and fix my gear without heading back to Dalaran each time. Now, it does cost 20,000 gold, but I think it's a worthwhile investment that'll pay off in the future as well. And the second big issue is that after 5 hours and about 50 runs of the Forge of Souls, I hadn't received a single battered hilt. So I decided to do a bit of research and just double check a few things, and it turns out I was completely wrong about it needing to be on heroic. According to some comments on Wowhead, it drops from normal as well. That means I can do the Pit of Sauron. So I headed straight there, and you don't need any fancy tricks or routes for this, you just do a big loop around the pit, killing everything you can grab. And within our first hour, we got another battered hilt. Now, between last episode and this episode, that's 2 battered hilts. Do you know what's better than 2 battered hilts? 3 battered hilts. So I'm committing to running this dungeon for however long it takes until I can get that third. But we'll leave that going in the background while we go do another job. It's time to pick some pockets. Icecrown has a surprisingly large number of monsters that can be pickpocketed, like these giant skeletons. Now don't ask me where my hand is going to pick the pockets on these guys. I don't quite know, but when I do it, it gives me loot. And any pocket that you pick in Northrend has a chance of giving you the reinforced junk box, which you can lockpick to get loot. Now you don't get much from these junk boxes, but there is a very low chance that you get a rare epic. Now we have tried this on a previous episode, actually the first episode, where I opened several hundred of these and we didn't get anything. But that just means we're more likely to get lucky this time, right? I'm sure that's how statistics works. There are a number of great pickpocketing locations in Northrend, but we're going to start with the Cathedral of Darkness. It's full of these chosen zealots, and look at them. They are literally bending over, offering up their pockets to me. How could we not take advantage of this? And while I was recording the B-roll for this voiceover, I got a decahedral dwarven dice worth 50,000 gold on the literal second pocket that I picked. And that's not all. This is actually the second one I got. I do most of the farming before I start recording the voiceover, and here's the clip of me getting the first one. So before we've even opened a single junk box, picking these pockets has already netted us 100,000 gold. Although we shouldn't count our chickens just yet. These are quite slow to sell, but we have sold one before in this series, so it can move if we're lucky. Anyways, we're not here for dice, we are here for junk boxes. So we make our way through the pews. I think that's what they're called. Pews? We make our way through the pews, pickpocketing each zealot one at a time. Once we're finished with a side, we kill them all, move over to the next side, where we do the same again. While waiting for them to respawn, we may as well head over to our second location, which is just a short little trip over the mountains to the Onslaught Harbour, where we find a wonderful amount of Scarlet Crusaders all packed nice and tightly into this little cathedral. And just like before, we walk among them, picking their pockets, and then making sure to leave them nice and dead before we go. Before we head off though, I did notice something interesting. Outside the cathedral, there's this random interaction that happens between an Onslaught Raven Bishop and an Onslaught Paladin, where the bishop orders everyone to stay away from the south side of the island upon pain of death. So of course, I instantly went to try and find what it is that they are keeping hidden. And no surprise, at the south side of the island, there is a secret cave that is very heavily guarded. And when you enter inside, it's quite clear that there is a heavy fell presence here. There's ritual summonings, succubi and imps all over the place. Right at the very bottom of the cave, you find Grand Admiral Westwind, the leader of the Scarlet Onslaught. But even more curiously, when you kill him, instead of dying, he just exits through a demon portal. Considering the Scarlet Crusade, and therefore the Scarlet Onslaught, see Fel, demons, and the Burning Crusade as pure evil, I found this to be quite an irregularity. Now I've never done any questing around here, so I have no idea what's going on, but I did some research. Turns out that this leader of the Scarlet Onslaught is actually Mal'Ganis in disguise, the Dreadlord who orchestrated the downfall of Arthas, leading him on his eventual path to become the Lich King. It turns out that he has installed himself as leader of the Scarlet Onslaught so he can use them as a throwaway army in his quest to get revenge against Arthas and the Lich King for their betrayal of him. Now, there are no gold-making opportunities down here, but I did find this very fun and interesting. I love that kind of game design, where a random throwaway piece of dialogue leads you on a little adventure and a new discovery. Now, I'm pretty sure there's a quest chain that sends you down here, but since I'm not doing the quest, I discovered this organically, and I really enjoyed it, and I just wanted to share it with you. Now, why don't we go see how the hunt for our third battered hilt is going? It took about 5 hours, but we have it. Our third, and probably final, battered hilt. Now, assuming we can sell each of these for 30,000 gold, which is a pretty safe assumption, that's a combined total of 60,000 gold for this episode. Now, it took me a roughly 10 hours to get them both, making it a 6,000 gold per hour farm. That's not the worst in the world, but it's also not great. We'll get them listed up on the auction house and now move on to a potentially good way of making gold. Crafting housing items. Now we did this in our Shadow Moon Valley episode and made quite a bit of gold out of it, but that was when the housing update had just been released. It's been over half a year, maybe longer now, so they might not be as hot. Either way, we're going to give it a go. The first thing we need to do is figure out which profession we're going to choose to level up, because every crafting profession can make their own unique housing items, yet some of these items sell for a lot more than others. For example, I initially liked the idea of enchanting. We've built up a big backlog of green and blue items from our endless dungeon runs looking for battered hilts, and these items just aren't selling well on the auction house. I was hoping we could disenchant them and then use those materials towards making housing items. Unfortunately, all the housing items that you can actually make with enchanting aren't selling at a very high price on the auction house right now, making it barely worth the time or effort. Instead, after looking through all of these, I think we give blacksmithing a try. The sewer gate, runic anvil and sun sconce are all selling for a fairly decent price, and I believe we can get the materials for them quite easily. So, now we need to build a shopping list. I've done the math, and to make 2 of each of the blacksmithing housing items, we're going to need 156 cold wind lumber, 20 runed orbs, 36 titan steel bars, 8 eternal earth, 4 eternal water, and 6 eternal fire. Let's start with the cold wind lumber, because there's actually a small problem with it. Now we get this by using the lumberjack skill that came in with the housing update. That's all fine, we got that in a previous episode. The problem is that there is not a single tree that you can cut down in Icecrown. I have flown around and around the zone and there is not one tree. It makes sense, it's a pretty dead land. There probably wouldn't be many trees growing in Icecrown, a frozen, dead wasteland. But it does make things a little bit more difficult for us. Although I do have 2 solutions. The first solution is the Howling Fjord. There are plenty of trees here, and we have unlocked it in a previous episode of this series, so we can technically go there. Although I'd rather not go back to a previous zone if we can avoid it, which means we'll go for the second option, Crystal Song Forest. It's a neutral zone with nothing really there. As a result, it's not in my wheel, so we cannot unlock it anyway. Its only real purpose is to be the home of Dalaran, and since we've unlocked Dalaran, I'm going to go ahead and say we've also unlocked Crystal Song Forest. And it's literally a forest, which thematically makes it a great place for us to go cutting down trees. So let's go do some deforestation. It's a pretty easy farm. You just fly around and look for the little hand icon on your minimap, land near it, click the cutting down tree symbol in front of the tree, and there you go, you have some lumber. So I just powered through this for a good 3 hours, cutting down every tree that I came across. Well, only the ones the game would let me cut down. And there we go. We have all the lumber we're going to need for what we want to make. Now, let's move on to the next one. Titan steel bars. And we're going to need 36 of them. For this, we just need mining, which we already have. Each Titan steel bar, we're going to need 3 titanium bars. And each titanium bar requires 2 titanium ore. So we're going to need to farm 216 titanium ore. We also need eternal fire, earth, and shadow, but we get those as a byproduct when mining, so that shouldn't be an issue. To get the titanium ore, we're just going to fly around Icecrown, mining each titanium vein we find. Unfortunately, they are quite rare, so this might take us a fair amount of time. So I will be back in a jiffy. And by a jiffy, I meant 5.5 hours, because that's how long it took. I might have been able to do it quicker if I just focused on the titanium veins, but I was also grabbing any saronite ore that I found because there's more of it and it will sell for quite a bit. So our final haul is 222 titanium ore, 2,223 saronite ore, and then all these goodies. All of that combined probably has a value of about 30,000 gold, but I'm hoping we can turn that into a lot more when we craft them into housing items. Now, we've got most of what we need to get the Titan steel made. First step, we have to smelt down all that titanium into titanium bars. Then we combine the crystallized earth, fire, and shadow into eternal earth, fire, and shadow. Some of you keen-eyed viewers might have noticed that I don't actually have enough crystallized fire to make enough eternal fire for the Titan steel bars. Now, I have an easy method to get some, which I'll show you after this. So after I stocked up on some more eternal fires, we can just smelt the Titan steel bars. And there we have them, 37 glorious bars of Titan steel. Now finally, we need the runed orbs and more eternal fire, water, and earth. These can be a pain to get, especially the ruined orbs, which back in the day I think only dropped from bosses in Ulduar, but now there is a much easier way to get them. Just around the corner from the blacksmith, there is Frozo the Renowned. He sells all the things we need, and all he wants in return is frozen orbs. Now, you can get frozen orbs from doing heroic dungeons, or you can just buy them for 60 gold apiece from Arcanist Ivreen. So we stock up on some frozen orbs, head back to Frozo, and buy all the things we need. Now, the last two steps. Leveling up our blacksmithing skill so we can learn the recipes, and then actually making the housing items. Leveling up our blacksmithing skill would have been a pain, since we don't have access to cobalt without going back to Howling Fjord, but we've got so much Saronite laying around, I can just be really inefficient with it and go through all the Saronite recipes, like the Saronite Dirk, which takes 14 Saronite ore for 1 Dirk. But after burning through over half of our Saronite reserves, we did it. We reached 60 skill points in blacksmithing, which is enough for us to learn the housing item crafts. Now, I needed to go buy a few more resources from Frozo the Orb Trader, but we have everything we need. Time to craft them. Now, as per the plan, we have enough resources to make 2 of each one. Once they're all crafted, it looks like our markup was 60,000 gold. So we're making 60,000 gold more than if we just sold the raw resources. And the total minimum buyout for them all combined will be 86,000 gold. We'll put them up on the auction house and see if we get any buyers. They're already quite a bit below market price, so I shouldn't have to drop the price any lower, but housing items aren't moving too quickly, so I might have a lot of competition. And since we're waiting for them to sell, why don't we get on with our last 2 jobs, one of which involves facing down the Lich King himself, but we're going to leave that one till last. Now, do you remember how earlier in the episode I said I was going to pickpocket the Chosen Zealots and the Scarlet Onslaught for their junk boxes? Well, I've been doing that for quite some time now, and I've been able to build up not just 1 full storage tab of reinforced junk boxes, not 2 tabs, not 3, not 4, but 5 full storage tabs of reinforced junk boxes. Now, you can't sell or buy these on the auction house, so I have to wonder, is this the most amount of reinforced junk boxes that any one person has held at any one time? It genuinely could be. Whilst pickpocketing the Chosen Zealots and the Scarlet Onslaught, I also looted 212 steamy romance novels. They are spicy books about forbidden love. It features a human paladin and an undead rogue doing things they really shouldn't be doing. I'd read it out, but that would be weird and we'd all be uncomfortable. You're just gonna have to read it for yourself. Luckily, it's only 3 pages long, but it's nice to know that the Scarlet Onslaught and the Cult of the Damned share a joint interest in saucy books. Anyways, why don't we start cracking open these junk boxes? Before I can actually open them, I have to lockpick them one at a time, and it's going to take a fair while to get through all of them, so we're just going to skip ahead to the actual opening. So here we go. I'm going to speed this up as well, and then slow it down if we come to anything interesting. Unfortunately, it's all just a load of junk. But that's just 1/5 of our stash. Let's do another run. We actually got something interesting. A Twilight Opal, worth 22 gold. Not really the kind of value we're looking for, but it does prove that there's more in here than just junk. So let's keep going. That's 2 for 2 with no real big ticket items. I'm going to power through the next 3 tabs at super high speed, and I'll only stop it if there's something worth showing you. So we got Bupkis. Absolutely nothing of value, except for possibly a couple of rings worth maybe a few thousand gold. That's very dubious. They have no sales data, so I don't really believe that. It was a colossal waste of time. And I would do it again, because I love pickpocketing, and I love opening chests, so maybe we'll give this another go one day. I decided to also open some lockboxes that I've been collecting through the episodes. These have a much higher chance of giving something useful, and we actually got a few interesting items from this. We got a shock-inducing girdle that at the very least could sell for a few thousand gold. And then there's this longbow that has a market value of 42,000 gold, but I also wouldn't believe that, as once again it doesn't have any actual sales data right now. And then just a few other bits and bobs worth anywhere from a couple dozen gold to a couple thousand gold. No real big ticket items, unless that bow magically sells for 40,000 gold, which I doubt, but definitely more profitable than the junk boxes. Now I guess we better take on the last job of this episode, heading into the Icecrown Citadel and taking on Arthas, the Lich King himself. There's not actually many gold making opportunities inside Icecrown Citadel. There are a couple of big ticket items that you can get from the end of a very long quest chain, but that quest chain is only available to warriors, death knights and paladins, and as a rogue, we can't do it. But even lacking any real monetary reward, I'd be doing this anyway before we finish our time in Icecrown. I wouldn't want to leave without doing what could be the best raid in Warcraft history. Plus, there are still a few bits and bobs that we can get and sell for gold, along with some collectibles that I'd just like to have, particularly Invincible's Reins. Now, please accept my sincerest apologies for the awkward footage. I swapped over to a 2K monitor before recording this, and OBS decided to keep recording it at 1080p. My options were to either wait a week and do it again since you're completely locked out for a whole week, you can't do a different difficulty, or to just try and make it work with the footage I had, and I've gone with the latter option because this video is already very late. Now, first thing is clearing the trash. This used to be a pretty good moneymaker back in the day, because you could get some pretty good bind on equip epic items dropping. And in this run we actually got very lucky. We had 3 bind on equip epic items drop. We had Jay-Z's Bell, which has a market value of 22,000 gold, but it only has a historical region sale average of 600 gold. And then I also got the Stiffened Corpse shoulder pads and the Ring of Rotting Sinew, worth only 600 and 500 gold, but I reckon they fetched a pretty penny back in the day. That brings us to the first boss, Lord Marrogar. There's not much we want from him, except for the pet Bone Shard. Doesn't sell for much, but it would be nice to have. He goes down, but he doesn't give us the Bone Shard. Oh well, maybe next time. Boss number 2 is Lady Deathwhisper. There's nothing we actually want from her, but we do have to kill every boss in the raid before we can kill the Lich King, so we dispatch her. The next boss is the gunship battle, which I think is quite buggy when there's only one of you. I don't know, I kind of just got kicked out of the cannon, dropped into the air, teleported back to the boat, and then it was all over. Again, there's nothing we were looking to get here, but we have to get through it. Plus, it's kind of a fun little fight, if it worked properly. Straight after that is Deathbringer Sourfang. He does give us something, the pet Blood Boil. Also, he has a nice little cinematic afterwards, where the High Lord Sourfang comes and picks up his son's corpse and takes it away. King Varian and Jaina turn up to stop the fighting. It was cute, but we'll skip through it and get on to the next bosses. We quickly blast our way through the Plague Works wing, killing Festagut, Rotface and Professor Putricide. We didn't get any sellable items here, but I did appreciate the future armor reference.
Good news, everyone! I think I've perfected a plan that gives 2 oozes 1 room. So
Bad news, everyone! I don't think I'm going to make it.
Then we take on the Blood Prince Council and the Blood Queen Lana Thel. The last couple of bosses before we start the final leg of this raid. The first part of which is a healing boss, and as a rogue, we cannot heal. I have tried doing this with bandages and it just wasn't enough. And so all we can really do is just sneak past it. Luckily though, this is the only boss in the raid that you don't have to finish to be able to progress. Now, right before we get to the final 2 bosses, there's a potentially sneaky skinning farm. I noticed this on my test run of the raid a few weeks back. There's some spiders that have pretty good skinning drop rates, and they're kind of event based, so you trigger the event and they drop down out of the sky and you can kill them and skin them, and as long as you don't complete the event, you can walk out of the room, they will despawn, you can come back in and the event starts again. I haven't actually done any comparisons to how well this holds up against other skinning farms in Icecrown, but it's got to be pretty good. Very little travel time, you do get a fair amount of chitin which sells quite well, and it is potentially infinite. You could just keep doing this over and over. But we are not here for leather, we're here for bosses. So let's head on to Sindragosa. And this big, beautiful, dead dragon does actually give us something we want. The soul-broken whelpling battle pet. Unfortunately, she was not feeling generous today, but she does open the pathway to take on the Lich King. And here he is, finally, the best antagonist in Warcraft history. Now, I'm just going to let this fight play out and let you watch it. I think it's absolutely amazing. For those of you who are only interested in the drop, skip ahead 7 minutes. For the rest of you, sit back and enjoy.
More than can be said for the thousands you've tortured and slain.
You'll learn of that firsthand. When my work is complete, you will beg for mercy, and I will deny you. Your anguished cries will be testament to my unbridled power.
So be it. Champions, attack!
I'll keep you alive to witness the end, Fordring. I would not want the Light's greatest champion to miss seeing this wretched world remade. In mine, I will freeze you from within. No questions remain unanswered. No doubts linger. You are Azeroth's greatest champions. You overcame every challenge I laid before you. My mightiest servants have fallen before your relentless onslaught. Your unbridled fury. Is it truly righteousness that drives you? I wonder. You trained them well, Fordring. You delivered the greatest fighting force this world has ever known. Right into my hands, exactly as I intended. You shall be rewarded for your unwitting sacrifice. Watch now, as I raise them from the dead to become masters of the Scourge. They will shroud this world in chaos and destruction. Azeroth's fall will come at their hands, and you will be the first to die. I delight in the irony.
Light, grant me one final blessing. Give me the strength to shatter these bonds. No more lives will be consumed by your hatred!
Free, at last. It is over, my son. This is the moment of reckoning. Rise up, champions of the light!
Father, is it over?
At long last. No king rules forever, my son.
I see.
Only darkness before me.
Without its master's command, the restless scourge will become an even greater threat to this world. Control must be maintained. There must always be a Lich King.
The weight of such a burden. It must be mine, for there is no other.
Tyrion! You hold a grim destiny in your hands, brother. But it is not your own.
Bolvar! By all that is holy.
The dragon's flame sealed my fate. The world of the living can no longer comfort me. Place the crown upon my head, Tyrion. Forevermore, I will be the jailer of the damned.
No, old friend. I cannot.
Do it, Tyrion! You and these brave heroes have your own destinies to fulfill. This last act of service is mine. I must be forgotten, Tyrion. If the world is to live free from the tyranny of fear, they must never know what was done here today. Tell them only that the Lich King is dead, and that Bolvar Dragon died with him. Now, go. Leave this place, and never return.
There you go. The end of the Lich King. I always love that cinematic, and I always watch it whenever I get the chance. Now, why don't we see if we've got Invincible's Reins?
Inventory is full.
Not this time, but we did get ourselves a consolation prize. The Wicked Soul Battle Pet. It'll fetch a few hundred gold on the auction house, or maybe I'll just learn it and keep it for myself. Now, with all that behind us, let's say our goodbye to Bolvar and head on back to town and sell our goods. And as we wait for the last few items to sell before we check our mailbox, why don't we reminisce about the zone a little bit? I don't think any other zone in Warcraft comes even close to the level of apocalyptic atmosphere that you get in Icecrown. The zone manages to capture that perfect blend of desperation and hope that Warcraft has never really achieved since. And yes, I'll accept, maybe there's a bit of nostalgia goggles going on here, but most people who played through it will agree that it's some of the best storytelling in an MMORPG that anyone's ever seen. And the actual zone of Icecrown is just so diverse, there's so much to do. It's not just zombies and death, there's so many different factions and races, different named characters, old storylines and plot points, all coming together at this nexus in the Warcraft lore. But that's enough fanboying over the Wrath of the Lich King expansion. Why don't we go check our mailbox and see if we've earned enough gold to buy that WoW token. Straight off the bat, I can see 2 housing items have sold, the Anvil and the Sewer Gate. Now, I did put these up at a reduced price to try to get them to sell before the end of the episode, but that's still over 20,000 gold, not bad. And there we go, we sold a decahedral dwarven dice for 47,000 gold. That is a huge win, but there is more, because we sold a second one, also for 47,000 gold. That's nearly 100,000 gold just from pickpocketing. And on top of that, we sold 2 battered hilts and a third decahedral dwarven dice. I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but we had a third dice drop while I wasn't recording. And since we had so many die and so many hilts, I put a couple of them up at well below market price to see if they would sell quickly. And they did. I expect someone was scanning the auction house and saw them at a lower price than what they usually sell at, and picked them up to resell later for profit. But that works for us because that was a nice 40,000 gold. So, it's about time we pick all this up and see if we have enough to buy that WoW token, which currently is sitting at just under 360,000 gold. Let's find out. $403,000 gold. We blew through our target, with 40,000 gold to spare. Honestly, we were carried quite hard by the decahedral dwarven dice. I expect if enough people watch this, those prices will plummet, because they seem to drop really often from pickpocketing in Northrend. I think just not many people know about it right now, maybe that'll change. But either way, we hit our target, and the one thing left to do now is to buy the token. And with that, our time in Icecrown comes to an end. And as well, the end of this episode. Before I go, I have some bad news and some good news. The bad news is, this will probably be the last episode in this series. While I love making it, each episode takes a colossal amount of effort to make, and as a very part-time YouTuber, getting episodes out in a timely manner isn't really possible with my current life situation. The good news is, I am going to be working on some other series, although my goal will be to make them one-offs rather than episodic. While most of them will be quite unique to what I've done now, one of them is going to be very similar to Goldlocked. So if you're curious to see what comes next, make sure to subscribe. And lastly, thank you to Pathalerix who made the original Goldbound series. It's still going, it's still fantastic, and I would not have made this without you. And thank you to those who've watched and followed along on this journey. This is not the end, this is definitely just the beginning. But that's all for now, I'll see you next time. Bye.